You're watching Telecom TV from the ETSI NFV 15 event in Nice. And I'm joined now by Marcus Brunner, who is Head of Standardization at Swisscom. Marcus, good to talk to you again on Telecom TV. From a service provider's perspective, how is the ETSI NFV work progressing?
The progress is quite good. It's this discussion we always have, it's how slow it is, but typically agreement takes its time. And there is still sort of the big elephant in the room is the collaboration between standards and open source ongoing internally as well as externally. So it's the whole industry doesn't exactly know how to deal with this dual-sided phase here around open source.
You mentioned the elephant in the room as being open source, but also what about the differences between vendors and service providers? Do you think at this stage in the NFV development process we are going to see a harmonized solution?
Yeah, I don't believe we're going to end up with a very harmonious approach. So we still talk a lot about software where change is easy to do. So many people have different opinions, and it's much easier to derive from a standard in the software world. And that I'm seeing this happening. Where we though start converging is to converge on the same knowledge level from the different people. So the decisions are made more conscious than like 2-3 years ago, where everybody was sort of, oh wow, there's something new coming, no idea. I think there is the group now at ETSI NFV is very good. People work very well together. There is a trust between the different stakeholders. Everybody understands his other position and is able to compromise as well.
So is it still important to have as a base a global harmonized standard?
Yeah, it's unclear a bit on what level you actually really need the standard. I think ETSI NFV has done a bit too much on standard, and some standards which I personally feel is still needed for getting the ecosystem, getting VNFs automatically deploy and so on, might be a bit weak. I think certain operators and certain vendors have not understood yet what exactly is needed, but that's a part of the coming to an agreement. I think that will take a bit more time, but it's getting there.
So looking specifically at Swisscom, where are you as an operator with your NFV adoption?
Yeah, so we meanwhile have like really two projects. It's also internally we have this problem on exactly what the requirements are, and there is a more fixed line oriented project. There we actually go commercial in that time frame we are now. And there is a second one on the mobile side, going with different settings, different requirements, different products, and building that one up.
And what are the challenges that Swisscom's experienced with trialing and adopting NFV and onboarding VNFs?
The biggest issue is really sort of onboarding VNFs from different sources. So this sort of, there was the idea to have some sort of marketplace of VNFs, which has not materialized yet, because it's not that easy to just take a piece and put it on our infrastructure, which we would love to see, sort of a bit of pick and choose things or coming up with something new. And in that space, basically what we actually just do now, we basically have launched a call for innovation, where we, together with two other operator partners, we sort of are asking startups to come up with ideas what we can now run on this infrastructure, this sort of NFV type-ish, cloud type-ish infrastructure, and come up with ideas how to implement that, and basically also with new service ideas which we can use now and things like that.
This is the first NFV meeting where there's been a dedicated 5G presence. What is the linkage between 5G and NFV?
That's an extreme close linkage. So for me, NFV is the baseline for 5G completely. Will take some time, but we see in the mobile space much more software and softwareization for the fifth generation mobile networks. So you basically start needing all these features from software lifecycle, DevOps. We really see that in the access networks and in the radio access networks as well. And so we are pretty much behind the idea of using a lot of NFV in 5G.
So is deployment of NFV a prerequisite for those mobile operators taking the 5G journey?
Yes. For me, that's no definite yes.
So how does a service provider go about selecting their NFV partners when really we don't know who are going to be the major 5G vendor players?
So at the moment we discuss NFV and mobile network on NFV with our current mobile partner. And we expect that 5G will come into discussion with the same partner as well. On the other hand, NFV allows for a horizontal choice of having an NFV baseline platform partner and functions on top from other partners. And we sort of see also a lot of convergence. So we would expect having a NFV platform plus mobile functions as well as fixed line functions as well as IT and service function on the same platform. And they cannot come from the same vendor. So a bit of a choice we still need. And so there will be some sort of selection.
So do we need a closer relationship in the standardization work between NFV and the various 5G projects?
Yeah, I think it should happen. I'm not sure whether that everybody has understood that yet. If I'm seeing what is going on in 3GPP, I think they have a very hard time understanding what softwareization and virtualization means for 5G. So I see a lot of problems there. There needs to be a lot of learning going on there.
IoT is one of the major use cases of 5G, but also is IoT an enabler for NFV?
Yes, I think so, because most of the IoT offerings, if it comes to IoT platforms and so on, is a cloud-based solution which basically eventually will run on an NFV platform. I don't see a big deal there. At the moment in IoT, the discussion is much more around networking things, and there is sort of this fight between we did LoRa deployments as Swisscom, and there's the narrowband IoT coming along, discussion around that, and what's the business on that level. And our customers, most of them are not looking at the platform yet. So they first need to figure out what the business model is and what their applications look like and so on to do the next step there. But I think the linkage is very, very close eventually.
So is this part of an ongoing trend in telecoms from providing connections to providing services?
Yes, so IoT is a lot about services. So the end product of many of the IoT things, or we call it more even digitalization of the industry as a whole, not only telecom, but the whole industrial thing. So we would expect that a lot of it is about services. The question is really who provides what bit into the service. And as a service provider, we naturally are very interested to provide a lot of bits. At the moment, most of it is on the networking and connectivity side, what we provide, and we provide a lot of help developing that ecosystem around IoT. But that takes its time. There are a lot of different players, and it's very fragmented. So we will see when that comes together a bit more.
Markus Brunner, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.